So we are week 5 today, and there we go. And the last one, last seed thought, Gemini and the intermediary. So let's see how Gemini, as the force which produces the changes needed for the evolution of the Christ consciousness, how, being the intermediary, Gemini achieves this ability to produce the changes that are needed. So, seeing that it's our last week in June, we'll just go through very briefly through the points that we've made, some of the points that we've made, and see the thread that we've woven from the beginning. And we will see Gemini as the intermediary. So, but before that, so I'll go back now to our very first ones. So, guys, if I've missed something, please point it out, okay? So the first one, Gemini, deals with the relationship of spirit and form. So Gemini is really the conscious light of that relationship between spirit and form. Again, it's the intermediary between spirit and form. So that's basically it, isn't it? The Gemini being the intermediary between the polar opposites as it sheds its light on both polar opposites. And we saw that it was the intermediary between the soul and the personality. But also we saw that not only was it the intermediary between soul and personality, but it was also between soul and spirit. We worked out that soul is consciousness, the second aspect of divinity, which is then the intermediary between the first aspect and the third aspect. It guards the mystery and the secret of duality between the two. And then we talked about synthesis. Instinctive synthesis that comes from Gemini. That ability to fuse the polar opposites, not just shedding light on both, but fusing the two. And we saw that this sweep to this instinct to synthesis underlies all universes, all constellations, all 7 solar systems. That's just in our local universe. And DK doesn't expand beyond that. but we know that there are many, many more other solar systems as well. Second ray of love. And as you know, second ray of love is the second aspect of divinity. And Gemini sustains that life, that love that flows throughout the whole universe. It controls it. It sustains all that is. The love of the whole. Okay? Yeah. Where else? And we worked out too that Gemini, with its inherent second ray of love, that fiery love, is responsible for the transmutation from one state of consciousness to another, or basically one state of being to another. And that the agency of fire is that of love. Solar fire or love is the great transmuting agency. And because Gemini forms the entrance to our solar system of that fiery love from Sirius. So it's that great transmuting agency that Gemini bestows to our solar system and transmutes everything. So we've worked that one out. We also realized that Gemini too, because it ruled the heart center of our logos, solar logos. And our solar logos is the heart center in the cosmic body of the one whom naught may be said, our local cosmic logos. So we saw that the influence of Gemini went way beyond our solar system itself, but pervaded the whole body of our cosmic logos. And now we came down to earth through the hearts of fiery love, the agents of transmutation are our solar angels, who are ourselves really, our body of consciousness. Who uses the third eye, which is responsible then for that work of transmutation, transmuting the human substance into solar substance. So again, Gemini, pervading, transmitting that ray of love. Then, of course, then the will of the soul through the third eye. and causing transmutation to occur. And then we saw the Antikarana last week. That was quite revealing. And we saw that Mercury being the ruler of Gemini was responsible for the 2 stages of the Antikarana. What is the Antikarana if it's not a transmutation of consciousness from one state? So here, within the personality itself, we saw that. And then Gemini was also the agent in transmuting the human substance into solar substance. And then we also saw that Gemini was also responsible because it was the triple ruler of the Antikarana, where it transmuted soul energy into monadic or triadal energy. So again, we saw the role of Mercury there as the intermediary. So I think that we've covered basically. I think I have. Did I miss anything? Gemini as an intermediary. I think I covered everything. So in short, Gemini is the messenger, is the transmitter, is the intermediary. And Gemini as the sign, the preeminent, the ultimate sign of the messenger that transmit messages from the lower to the higher, from the higher to the lower, is the revealer of divine truths and is the intermediary between the human and the soul kingdom, the solar kingdom. Now, if we realized from our previous study that there was, hang on, I think I'm jumping the gun here, that there was no my soul, thy soul. This is what we say now in our meditation every week. Thy soul, my soul. There is none, but there is only one soul. The same goes for the etheric body. And Gemini rules the etheric body. So we see that it's not only our own etheric body here, but it is the planetary. It rules the planetary bodies. And it rules the solar nadis as well, because that's how he transmits his messages from one entity to the other. It's through the etheric that the exchange occurs. So then we see also Gemini ruling the etheric body of the whole solar system, the planetary nadis, as well as our etheric body. So finally we can say there is no my etheric body, your etheric body, but there is only one etheric body, and Gemini is behind it all. Because the etheric body is the custodian of the conditioning energy and the intermediary between soul and body. And it doesn't have to be only us, human. It is the soul of our Logos as well, and the relationship with his physical body, which we will see in a minute. So then, Gemini rules both the personality and the soul. But his role is to transmute the energy from Castor, the mortal body, and to increase the light in Pollux, the immortal brother. The transmutation occurring, transmuting the energy from the mortal brother to the immortal brother, Pollux. Now, in the average person, the etheric vehicle is the transmitter of psychic energy as it galvanizes and coordinates the dense physical body. And through our study of the etheric body, we saw that, how the etheric body is the conditioning, the transmitter of all these inner energies, soul energies, mental energies, and astral energies that condition the chakras and then galvanize the physical body, and therefore permitting astral and mental control of the personality. But when we are on the path of discipleship leading to initiation, the etheric body becomes the transmitter then of soul energy, not personality force, because then Pollux has waxed and I wouldn't say obliterated the light, but has dimmed the light of the personality, the mental and the astral. So just like the soul is the intermediary between the higher planes, the etheric body of the Logos, right? First, second, third, and fourth planes, so too the etheric body is the intermediary between the inner planes, that is the mental plane, the astral plane, and the dense physical body. So we can see there how Gemini, because it rules the etheric and it rules the second aspect of divinity, the soul, consciousness, is then acts as the intermediary so that it can transmute from one state of being to another. And how does that occur? It's through the powerful second ray of love and wisdom, working through the subjective 6 rays according to the ray type that begins to dominate the vital body, producing consequently the shift of force and intensity from the centers below the diaphragm to the centers above the diaphragm, that is heart, head, and throat. So what do we conclude? That there is no my soul, your soul, but only one soul. The one is all. And this is a very important point in our healing. So the same goes for the etheric body, because Gemini rules the solar, the planetary, and because we are part of the planetary nadis, the etheric body, so Gemini rules the etheric body as a whole. So this is also a very important point in our healing, because this is how the healing is transmitted from the soul to the etheric body, which then galvanizes the physical body into activity. I think that's it. I think this is the last one. So DK tells us there is much to be learned from the study of the dual activity, higher and lower, of the etheric body and its relation and its responsiveness to the constellation Gemini. But this is too abstruse for the ordinary student. But it is nevertheless an esoteric fact to be borne in mind, and will be someday of real service to the astrology of the future. For someday astrology will be lifted up to a higher plane. True interpretation will come, and true healing in all departments of human living through a proper understanding of the available potencies and energies pouring into the planet in a particular time. So the time is not yet where we are what's the word? Not adequate, competent enough to be able to bring the rays, to bring astrology and healing as one healing modality. But it will come. We are already well on our way to understanding how the etheric body works, how healing works. We are going through the rules, the laws. And bit at a time, we're understanding too some of the very important astrological potencies that are available to us. Joe every month opens us to the energies of the sign so that we can have a greater understanding of these potencies that are beating on the earth every month. And through our seed thoughts too, we've been learning a little bit more about astrology and how it relates to our healing. And let's not forget that we are in the process of being trained. DK did say that he is laying the foundation through study. So even though we don't fully understand at this stage, but we understand that we are in that process of learning, of connecting all the dots and reaching out to the higher mind, to the Buddhic plane, where intuition will illuminate our lower mind, and we will be able to see the whole as one. At the moment, we're still seeing just bits and pieces. We are getting there, but we are being trained. And when Christ comes and returns, we will be there with him. We will be his army. We will be his agents. Because healing in the Aquarian age is the modality. So we will be laying down, just like medicine has for thousands and thousands of years. So we are planting the seeds of esoteric healing as well, which will be a very potent aspect of the Aquarian age. And we are doing it. We are planting these seeds by purifying ourselves, by transmuting and transforming and transfiguring ourselves, both physically, emotionally, and mentally. We will be the agents of transmutation. Well, we are to a certain extent by working as a group now. Anyway, any thoughts, friends?
Not for now. I can say I relate to the statement that says it's too abstruse for the ordinary student.
Mm.
But,
yeah, tell me about it.
Mm.
You know, I was thinking about that a few days ago. We are understanding it intellectually. And that's good. I mean, we've got to start somewhere. But like you say, you know, it's so abstruse that we have to actually experience it to be able to fully understand it. So in other words, we've got to be in that Buddhic plane, a state of being, you know, that's Buddhic state of being, so that we can say, yes, now I can see it.
Yeah.
But at the moment, we're still grasping at it. And hey, there must be a beginning to everything.
Yeah. And I guess we're following the instructions as best we can. So I don't know that, you know, there's more that we can do.
You're quite right. There's nothing more that we can do here.
I'm especially impressed by the way that through the way you organized and led us through Gemini so beautifully. I'm especially impressed by the idea of the law of correspondences. We may not totally understand all the higher correspondences of the sign of Gemini and the meaning it has, but certainly we can apply it in our own way, in our own lives, in the ways that we see these energies happening as we try to unite our parts, and as we try to transmit and transfigure daily what we do and think and how we act.
Yeah.
I think it's certainly the sign that helps us to see our own polarities and the polarities of life around us, and how in pondering those things, again, by the law of correspondence, perhaps one day we will understand, we will come to a further understanding.
Yeah. It will open up. That little bit of understanding will be like a door to the greater correspondences. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. The old saying, we see the outline of things, and we ponder these things on one level, and then we can apply them to other levels that you speak of in our minds and in our constructions of how we understand those things.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. But there is so much more to Gemini, God. I think we could spend a whole year on Gemini. I was looking at Michael's compilation on Gemini. I got so bamboozled. I thought, I should have mentioned that. I should bring this up. I should bring this up. Then I thought, but there's a limit to how much we can. I learned one thing from Dr. Suzuki. My daughters have, when they were little, they were taught the flute and the piano through the Suzuki method, Dr. Suzuki. I don't know whether you guys know about Suzuki, but he was a wonderful Japanese music teacher. And his method has been taught now throughout the whole world. And I remember one of his teachings, he says, one thing at a time. In their music lessons, the teacher used to work on only one thing, even though, the child wouldn't have played that piece of music, covering all the bases. But the teacher worked on one thing at a time. And it was such an eye-opener for me that throughout my whole teaching career, I did exactly what Dr. Suzuki used to do. One thing at a time. Get that one thing right, one step. And that's how we climb the ladder, one step at a time. So I don't apologize for just, mentioning only a few points about Gemini, because again, it's important to grasp that one thing and to grasp it well.
I just think you've done a beautiful job of putting together the salient points, the ones that you've like the word synthesized so much into the time that you've had to do it. Very grateful.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's great. There's so much,
Yeah, there's so much to think about. So much to think about. is there anything else that perhaps from the previous weeks that we need to tie in? We could bring it together.
I'm hoping at some point to learn more about the idea of Mercury um, having 7 times the light, did you say?
Yeah,
Um,
that's right.
I find that very interesting. I'd love to learn more about that as time
Yeah,
goes by. Uh-huh.
yeah, it's this one here. Yep. It's the closest. Mercury is the closest
Yeah.
planet to the sun. And yet, apparently, it's not the hottest.
And
Isn't
I have,
isn't
yeah,
that amazing?
yes. I'm I'm sure on so many levels it has so many meanings.
Yeah, yeah.
As you're speaking of, well, from one step to another and understanding that kind of
Mm,
thing.
mm.
And even how in the study of astrology, that would apply to um, a chart, that's the chart of a group or the chart of an individual or the chart of a nation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I wish I was so much better at astrology. I really wish. But I've only studied astrology in the last maybe 10 to 15 years. And that's just not enough. My eventual goal is to bring the rays, the healing and astrology together, to be able to look at a natal chart and see, okay, where's the blockage?
Mhm.
What indicates in that chart the potency that will help to eliminate that blockage?
Mhm.
I know it's there, but I'm not good enough to be able to. I'm not competent enough to be able to, even though a few years ago I was absolutely inspired by Chiron.
Yes.
And Chiron is it just blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
It really blew my mind.
And
And
it
for the,
happened, yeah, it
sorry,
was discovered and talked about at a time when human consciousness was beginning to be able to understand that level of
yeah,
what it means. Yeah,
yeah,
just like all the planets. I find that really interesting too.
yes.
Like, yeah.
And I found Richard Knoll absolutely brilliant. Zane, what's his name? Zane something. Zane Stein, I think his name is. He was also brilliant. But they're not esoteric astrologers. But still, though, it was a really good start. And then I put my own, I applied my own esoteric knowledge to Chiron. And in the charts of the people that I read, oh God, I found how, in every sickness,
Yep.
that people had, any challenge that people had. Chiron was involved.
Yes, I found that as well. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
isn't that brilliant?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the core wound
That's right.
causes. Yeah.
And as we were saying, where did we say that soul is consciousness here? Where did I? Well, where's this? You know, when we said that soul was consciousness here. Oh, enough. I can't see the slide now. I can't see the slide. There it is. You know, the consciousness aspect. Soul is consciousness. And Chiron really exemplifies the blockage in consciousness. Because that's what sickness is all about. It's a blockage, but it's, although there are physical blockages, etheric blockages, but TK tells us that 99% or 90% of sickness come from the emotional body. So that's where the blockage is.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we can find the blockage in consciousness, then we find, and Chiron is not only indicates the blockage, but it also shows us how to unblock it. So from the negative, transmuting to the positive. It's quite, so I was hoping that I would have had some time this year to put a webinar together about Chiron.
That would be interesting.
Just to raise the awareness of people.
The way you just described Chiron, it made me think again that it acts, if understood as much as possible, it acts like a bridge as well.
That's
because
right.
it is the bridge to healing through whatever one needs to address and become conscious of. I think I have found with Chiron that many times the blockage is the unconscious understanding
That's
involved
right.
with the wound, and there are avenues that show up in the chart, bridges to consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah. Spot on, Susie.
Thank you, Nicole. We hope you feel better soon. You are such an inspiration. You keep on keeping on, no matter how you're feeling. God bless you. Yeah.
Although I'm going to take a break next month from the Seed Thoughts, friends, because we've got, okay, we will still have our meditations, but I thought that next month we have to prepare a webinar on the Anticorana. We promised one of our students who's been really on my back since last year to, to prepare something on the Anticorana. So we'll do that, the Anticorana, because it's so important in our work. And then we've got Sirius coming up the month after. So there's too much to be done. So that's why for the month of July, I'd like to take a break with a seed
Absolutely.
thought to give me a little bit more time to get these 2 webinars under my belt.
Hmm.
So if that's okay with you.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah, you're the boss.
No, guys, no.
No.
There's no boss here. We're all equal. We're all equal.